Hey everyone, my name is Kavita. I'm the pattern writer behind Craft Doodling Designs. Today is February 15, 2023, and I'm recording from my favorite corner in my house. And it's a sunny and bright day outside. At the same time, it's also really cold and windy. I hope the weather is kind to you wherever you are. And let's get into today's knitting talk. So, the first thing I have for you is my Taarika Pullover, which I'm already wearing. This was my test knit for designer Anjali Diwan, and the pattern is already out on Ravelry. And this was my first ever color work pullover, and I am really happy with how it turned out. I'll add a little clip of me trying it on at the end of this video. But what I really liked about the pattern is that all the color work is done at the top, and then you get a lot of stockinette time, or in other words, mindless knitting time while you knit the sleeves and while you knit the body. And then there is also a little detail to look forward to at the end, like this the corrugated ribbing done at the cuff. It's a really nice little detail that was appreciated by many people who saw this sweater in pattern as well as over the social media. So I really enjoyed making this, and I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of wear out of this. Overall, it was a really satisfying knit for me. I highly recommend it, and I'll leave a link below, and if you're inclined to check it out, don't forget to check the testers projects, where they have done a lot of different lovely combinations, color combinations, which might give you ideas. So yeah, this is my Taarika pullover, and it is done. Having said that I picked a pattern, I knitted it, it fit me, and I like the color choices I made, etc. Saying that and making a video only about that, in my opinion, will not be the full truth. What I mean to say is, I uh, I'm not doing these things naturally and instinctively all my life. Even though I have been knitting for years, making clothing that fit your body is has been a really deep learning curve, and it has been a journey of learning little things along the way, and improving your technique, improving your adding your knowledge of what to do and what not to do. This has been a journey, especially for items that fit on our body, like sweaters or mittens or socks, things like that. The other things like shawls or cowls, which do not have to fit on your body, do not have this challenge. They are just going to drape around your body. You probably will have to make a good choice about the fabric you are knitting. But other than that, they can be done. Uh, they can be done much. They don't have the same kind of challenges that is there in an item that has to fit around your body. So this is making sweaters and socks is my main attraction to knitting, and I think I am at a point where I'm able to understand things and also apply them to my projects, and have some success out of it. And I think I'm ready to share whatever I learned, because if you have been if you know me personally, or if you have seen my social media posts or anything, I am a big fan of learning and sharing things, and that is what I'm going to do. So about the same experience of knitting Taarika Pullover. So I like the pattern, I picked it and knitted it, and that is the best part of the story. But I also want to share what I have learned from this experience and what I will carry forward in my further sweater projects. Probably is one of the things that let's talk about how I decided to knit this pattern. I've been telling so many times that this is my first ever color work pullover. So why did I decide to do a color work pullover? Okay, I'll admit, the first thing is I see so many pictures, videos of people wearing beautiful colorwork sweaters, and it seems to fit a lot of people. It seems to look beautiful on a lot of different people. And I thought, okay, I would like to try that too. That is our very first attraction to even consider knitting an item, right? So yeah, that aspect was there. And then also I had this thought about I don't I don't have anything similar in my wardrobe that I am already comfortable with. So I was also thinking like how this is going to sit on my body. So a few things that I thought about was it might be really simple or it might really look irrelevant, but one thing I thought about was I wear a lot of cowls. I make cowls, and I really like cowls over shawls. And when I wear a cowl, what happens is it sits here and it kind of frames my face. So whatever I have knitted that cowl, like it's in a bright attractive yarn or it's a good stitch pattern, it kind of frames the face, and it is something nice to look at. So I know that when this colorwork pullover, when we make colorwork pullovers, there is a lot of decorative elements around this area, around the shoulder, the yoke area, which is the name of the sweater. It's the yoke sweater. So I know that there is a lot of decorative elements here, and it is going to frame the face, and it is going to somewhat be similar to wearing a nice attractive cowl. So I know that that works for me, so this also might work. So that was one thing I thought about while deciding whether I should do this or not. The other thing I thought about was I looked at the pullover design, and it had three colors, and at first I was not very confident about how I will choose my color. I'm not really very confident with my colors. I am mostly try to wear neutrals and then wear my knitted accessories with a little bit of pop color. That's how I have been making my knitted items and my store-bought items work together in my wardrobe. That's how I try to highlight my knitted items. So I think of it the same way. So there is a lot of neutral in the body, and I'll try to have one color that is a little bit of a pop, and the second color also as a neutral. So I went for a dark neutral and a light neutral, and this one, the red one, as a pop color. Like this is the idea was also really honestly obvious from the pattern itself. The designer had also done a similar thing, so it was easy to copy and follow the same thing. So that is another aspect I considered while deciding whether I should even be knitting this or not. And then there was the challenge of not knowing the techniques. So I have tried color works in small projects in the past, and they did not go well. Like my gauge was really off. I have talked about this as well. So what I did was actually incidentally, I had also picked up a colorwork hat project at that time, and I was knitting it, and my gauge was getting better. Like I don't know, it's like the third time is the charm, or I was really paying attention to all the colorwork advice that I have been getting so far. So finally my tension was beginning to settle down, and I was getting correct gauge in this hat I was knitting. So I treated that. I don't have that hat with me to show it now, otherwise I'll be showing it here. I sent it away as a gift. But what happened with the hat is I know that this is my gauge and I can do this. And I picked the same yarn. I ordered the same yarn again for this sweater so that I'll stay within my achieved gauge. Uh, I'll have some jumping off point. That's what I mean. So I actually treated this hat as a swatch and then used that gauge to find out what size I'm going to be knitting in this yoke sweater. So that was really helpful. So these were a bunch of things I considered before even attempting to knit this sweater. And then, but there are a couple of things I might have still slipped, and this is what I will need to carry over to my future projects. Is These are my learnings. So when I decided what size I want to knit based on my bust circumference, I chose the same finished circumference as I would do in a drop shoulder sweater. But I feel like I would like it better if the yoke is more fitted on my body. You know what I mean? I still have a little bit of quite a bit of ease around the underarm area, and I think for a yoke sweater I could have gone a size down than what I would knit for a drop shoulder sweater. I could have chosen a smaller size to knit for the yoke sweater. That was one observation. This is just an observation. I may be right or may be wrong. This can only be proven right or wrong by experimenting. Again, there is only one way to find out things. So the another one I was thinking about is when it is so I had knitted a drop shoulder sweater in fingering weight yarn, and the feel is different. This is knitted in worsted weight. This is a yoke sweater that is knitted in worsted weight. So there is also the fabric to be considered. I have knitted a cable pullover in worsted weight in the past. Unfortunately, I don't have that either with me. And that I had knitted it much more closer to my body circumference, like in much more fitted fashion. And I think overall, if it is a worsted weight sweater and if it is a yoke sweater, I'm going to like it if it is more fitted on my body. I just wanted to share that here. These are my observations for my own study and future reference. On to the second item I have for you today. It is a work in progress. This is my low-key scarf that I have shown a bunch of times around here in my last video as well as in the social media posts. The low-key scarf started as a small knit along in the Facebook group. I have it here. Okay, this design, let us say it has evolved. In other words, I had to rip it and redo it again. I'll tell you why. The inspiration for low-key scarf began with having something low-key to knit. By low-key, I mean you should be able to knit it with any yarn or almost any yarn, and you should be able to knit it with any yarn weight, and not worrying too much about the gauge, but probably you'll take care. You should take care that you like the drape of the fabric. But that's all. But it should work with any gauge, and you should be able to put it down anytime and pick it back up, and then know exactly where you are in your knitting. Which means the stitch pattern should be simple enough to knit, but at the same time somewhat engaging. So these are some things I thought about when having something low key to knit. And I had picked up a pattern, a stitch pattern. It was a ribbing pattern basically. It was called the zigzag rib pattern, and it was fairly easy enough to execute. It's just a it's two stitch cross cable in truth, but it was fairly easy to execute without any cable needle, and it was looking really nice. And this is, I'm talking about the first version I had before I ripped out and reknit it again. So the fabric was good. My plan was to initially have it around third of the width of my shawl to have the zigzag rib pattern, and the rest in plain ribbing. So overall, to have a ribbed fabric. And I was using a mohair and a fingering weight yarn held together for this project, and things were going well and for some time. And then when the fabric grew a little bit bigger, I realized that um, when I held it up against my skin, first of all, it was really nubbly. The whole point of knitting with the mohair is to have something really soft to hold on to wear, and I felt like I was missing out on that because of the stitch pattern. When I looked at the stitch pattern, it kind of constricts the mohair fiber. I realized the crossing of the stitches um, is not good for mohair. At least too much crossing is not good. It was rendering the fabric to be not so soft. So that was something that was bothering me. Then there was the stitch pattern itself. It was a 2-row repeat, and it was easy enough to execute, but crossing every stitch for about 1/3 of the shawl probably was not a good idea. The stitch pattern would have worked really well on a smaller project like a mitten or a hat. Um, I think it would still yield a good fabric, and it would be fun to do the stitch pattern. But doing the zigzag pattern over like 1/3 of the whole width of the shawl was overwhelming. Was not, I think, not that I wanted to do it, or no, I didn't think that somebody else would also want to do it. So this is one thing I have to consider, like, am I really enjoying this, as well as will my knitter enjoy it in the future? Because if it is going to be, if I even hope that it will become a design, I really do have to pay attention to this. So I decided that even though I had knitted like about 19 inches by the time I thought about all this and came to the conclusion, I decided that it should go, and I ripped it and started all over again on my second version of the project. But the second version happens to be close to the original sketch I had drawn, so I'm happy about that, and I'm also very happy about the fabric that has come out. I'll show it to you, if you can see. So this is my new version, and I am still using the zigzag pattern, but I am using it really sparingly, and the rest is all regular ribbing. And I really like the fabric, the resulting fabric now. And I don't think you can see the halo and the softness of the mohair. I'm trying to hold it up. Anyway, but this is something I really would like to knit also, and I would also like to wear it. So I'm hoping to finish this project soon. Right now I have run out of yarn. I have half of my fingering weight left, but I have run out of my mohair skein, so I have to go and pick it up in my local yarn store hopefully this week, and I'll try to finish this project. So this is where a low-key scarf stands at the moment. Let's move to the next project I have for you. Alright, I have shown this in the last video. This is a sock, worsted weight sock I have been knitting for my husband, and I have already shown this one. I was hoping to finish the second one by the time I was ready for this video, but I'm not. I haven't done that. It's still only a work in progress. So this is still on my needles. I've just turned the heel, so to speak. This is the short row, shadow wrap short row heel that I'm using, and I've just finished the heel part, and I have the leg, about 5 inches of leg to be knitted. But I'm very happy with how this fits, and the whole thing of knitting a worsted weight sock started to be able to probably write a pattern for something that is accessible to a new sock knitter, and I really like how it is turning. I also read a book in the meanwhile while knitting this sock. The book by Clara Parts. I forget the title, but I have already read this one. This is my second time reading this book, and it has a wealth of information about how to make socks that really work for you. A lot of information about understanding the yarn you are working with, understanding the construction of the yarn itself, the fibers used in your yarn, how to select stitch patterns that will how to select combinations of stitch patterns and yarns and yarn weight, all together giving you a socks that works. Itself begins by how socks are a little bit different than other items we wear on the body, and hence socks is more vulnerable, and how we need to pay attention to the construction to get something that really works for us. So it has been a really interesting read. I will leave a link below if you're interested, but this has given me a lot of ideas about how to approach sock knitting. Like I started off with worsted weight socks with something in mind, but right now I'm knitting a 44 stitch socks, and it is giving me 8.5 inch circumference. This means, no, I'm not even going to attempt. I don't do mental math really well. Please figure out what that means. But what I want to achieve is like a 7 to 8 stitches per inch gauge in worsted weight, like the book recommends, and see how that fabric works for me. It's really intriguing for me to understand the different types of fabric that is possible with respect to socks, and I'm interested to try that. So that is my ongoing project about for socks, and I also started another one. This is my usual fingering weight, just in a fun colorway. This I'm using Nitpicks Felici, and I saw this really interesting colorway come up, and I had ordered this. I hope to be able to knit a pair of socks for myself. Just doing my go-to sock recipe. I think I can call it a recipe. So top down and with shorty sock with shadow wrap short row heels, and the same thing on the toe. That's what I'm going to be trying. Um, I do have another experiment that I might try on this, but I don't want to say it here if I decide later on to drop it. So that's all I had for you today. I hope you enjoyed the knitting talk. Um, See you in the next video, and I hope you get a lot of making and relaxing time meanwhile. Thank you. Hey, I'm going to try my Taarika Pullover on now.